This morning. My name's Ernie. My colleague over here is Rob. Okay, we're going to take you on. The tour this morning. But before we do that, we're going to explain a little bit about the place itself, a little bit about the history, how the factory actually comes to be here, and then we're going to split you off. We're going to go and do that. We're going to go do the tour. Tour takes round about an hour and a quarter, hour and 20 minutes, depending, something like that. It really depends on what's going on the factory, and I suppose how many questions you want to ask us, really, how interested you are. So, this place itself, if you'd have come in here in 2010, this place was derelict. It was falling down, and we were kind of that close to losing it. The factory that works here, Burgess and Lee, it would have been far easier, to be honest, to just bulldoze this and put a new modern factory unit on it. It would have made a lot more sense. But they didn't take that approach. They wanted to preserve the buildings because it's quite unique, which I'll explain to you in a minute why. So what they do is that they approach the Prince's Regeneration Trust. Prince Charles runs this trust, and they approached him to ask him whether he would take on the preservation of these buildings. Luckily he said yes, and they raised about £9 million. Through things like the English Lottery Fund, English Heritage, all that kind of thing. And a lot of private sponsors and that gave money as well. And they restored all the buildings. Now the old intention of the restoration was not to make it look pretty, not to make it something that it wasn't, not to Disneyfy it if you like, but to put it back as it originally was. So wherever they can, they've retained the original fabric of the building. So you'll see some old doors, you'll see new doors, depending on whether they could save the fabric of it. So that's how this thing happens to be here. Okay, the history. Really starts in 1862. In 1862, Frederick Rathbone Burgess and William Lee got together and they decided that they wanted to start a pottery manufacturing business. Now they didn't start on this site, they started at another site up in central Burslem. Burslem locally is known as the mother town. That's really where all the pottery industries actually started. They worked up there for around about 20 years and very, very successful, particularly successful in the export market, which is maybe why you haven't heard of Burley quite as much as, say, Wedgwood and Daltons and Spose and those sort of names, because a lot of the wear was actually exported. Frederick Rathbone Burgess was already an wholesale pottery seller before he went into business with William Lee. And he was also quite a wealthy man. He had agents all around the world selling pottery. William Lee was the son of a master potter. So kind of perfect combination really. You had somebody with some wealth and some contacts and somebody with some skills. They got together, as I say, they were quite successful quite quickly. Very, very quickly outgrew that site. It was a little bit landlocked, they couldn't expand anymore. So they started to look around for another site. And they found this site. Now what was most important for this site was that at the bottom. Okay, that at the bottom is a canal, the Trent Mersey Canal. It was known as the Grand Trunk Canal when it was first started, and it literally goes from one side of the country to the other side of the country, right over from the east right over to the west of the country. It's about 93 miles long. And these were the highways of the day. These were the motorways of the day. Everything used to come in by a canal, and all the finished goods used to go out by a canal. So it was very important, that was already there. They flattened the site, started from scratch, and built a new factory from scratch, which again was very unique. Most of the factories in Stoke-on-Trent had just kind of happened, with no real planning put into them. This one was actually planned, and it was planned with a workflow in place. The raw materials come in here, go through the various different stages, until they finish here, the finished goods here. So raw materials come in there, finished goods actually go out through there. In a kind of horseshoe shape, if you like, through the various different processes. Now, pottery goes through two firings. It goes through a biscuit firing and it goes through a glossed firing. That was done in these bottle ovens. And in the day, this factory had 7 of these bottle ovens. I know a lot of you have already been at the bottle ovens. We'll take the ones to you a little bit later on. Coal-fired, very, very dirty, and very, very inefficient. In about the 1940s, they brought in a new way of firing the ware called tunnel ovens. The tunnel ovens were gas-fired, and they very quickly saw the demise of these things. These four came down in 1947. These two came down in 1963, and the only one we've got left is this one in the corner. All right, now, I'd love to tell you that that was saved for historical preservation reasons, but actually the only reason we've got it is because it holds all that side of the building up. If he'd have pulled it down, he'd have just collapsed. So it's far easy, just close the doors on it. So that's the factory. That's how it happened to be. It was known as a model factory in the day because it was unique. It was quite a model factory. And we're going to go off now and start the tour. Now, before we do that, I need to give you some health and safety advice. We're going to go on to a working factory, all right, and also it's a Victorian factory. The Victorians had no concept of health and safety at all, so we will be going up and down some stairs, quite steep stairs. Is everybody okay with stairs? Yeah? And we will be going over some uneven ground. You'll be going into areas sometimes that might be wet and they might be dirty and so on and so forth. So what we really ask you to do is to keep your eyes open as you're walking around. It's so easy to get so involved in what you're seeing that you forget to look where you're going. Yeah? We don't want any of you to have trips or falls, so please be careful. We will, myself and Rob will point out the dangers as we come to them, but just be aware as you're walking around. Okay, so I think that we'll go off and start the tour. We're going to split you roughly in two, mainly because this factory is quite a tight factory in places, so that you can all get around the machine. We're going to split you roughly in two. The other thing I didn't mention is this is a working factory. Okay, Stoke people are very chatty. Yeah, they will talk to you all day if you start them off. All right, so from time to time we will be moving you on. Yeah, we will be shepherding you on. We're not being rude, right? It's just that you have to be aware these people are working. All right, so we're going to split you roughly into two. How many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, yeah? Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 18. So two lots in that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you all want to come with me, yeah, and the rest of you stay with Rob.